Welcome everyone to Cloud Village 2025. I am Angad, helping out with speaker ops today. I am here to make sure everything runs smoothly, including me, and our speakers have an awesome experience. We have a special keynote speaker today. We have someone who needs no introduction to many of us, Jason Haddix. Jason is the CEO and hacker in charge at RSA Information Security, leading cutting-edge assessment and training work with 20+ years of experience at leadership roles at Budabot, Ubisoft, Bugcrowd, and HP. He brings a wealth of experience in offensive security and team building to this stage. Today, he is here to walk us through Cloud Recon AI and Monitoring Edition, where we'll explore the future of attack surface management. Please give a huge round of applause for Jason.
Now, I'm going to go over 3 tools today and then a wrapper for the 3 tools I'm working on. The first 3 tools are open source, so you can go grab them. 2 are made by me and my friend Gunnar, and another one is made by just me and a couple other people at RSA. So, all right, I'm going to talk about some of the issues. So, from a large org perspective, cloud infra specifically, grows both very quickly, sometimes unpredictably, and sometimes unmonitored. So you have a lot of shadow IT. Sometimes you have people who have access to bring on cloud infrastructure, register domains, things like this, and you don't have visibility as security, right? You know, if you're in an engineering first organization, I can't count the amount of times where we were looking, at Ubisoft and being like, okay, so a new domain has been registered, it's on a cloud IP range, and I don't know what group inside of Ubisoft brought this online. It could have been Rainbow Six, it could have been Assassin's Creed, it could have been just Dance, right? And so we have this web property out there that's just sitting out there with no scanning, it's not in the security pipeline, it doesn't have the security tools we want in it, etc. Now, this presents an opportunity to have shadow IT. As a red teamer, if I were testing that company or a bug bounty hunter, I want to find this opportunity, because usually it means that that thing is under-secured and I can be the first one to test it, which means I'm not going to get a duplicate if I find a vulnerability on it. So here are some techniques we use in that way. First off, this is Gunnar. Gunnar is, he's a contractor for us every once in a while, but he's also just an amazing AppSec engineer himself. He does a lot of tooling, and Gunnar and I have worked together on some of these tools, and some of them he wrote by himself. And he's just a fantastic person, and so I thought I'd give him a shout out here. The tools that Gunnar does are explicitly linked in the slides, which I'll give to the organizers. And then this is his GitHub right here. Golden Cybersec is kind of his online handle. He's also got his Twitter, and if you want to contact him and talk about some of these tools, he's awesome. So. Okay, let's talk about the techniques first. So the first thing I need to do when I'm targeting an organization, I want to understand the organization in general, especially their infrastructure, is I need to get some overview of what hosting they're using, so what cloud provider, or if they're multi-cloud. I need to know, as a red teamer or a bug bounty hunter, I need to know kind of what SaaS applications they might be using, and just a little bit of other network data around, or metadata around their organization in order to even start my bug hunting. And I'll talk about this in the specific sections. So, okay, so in my reconnaissance journey, I am always going to these websites that house domain information and domain statistics around different things. A newer-ish one is Netify.ai. So Netify.ai is a paid service that you can go out to, and they give away, without you having to do the paid service, they do give away a bit of free information, which is actually really cool for a pen tester or a red teamer to understand your organization. So they have 3 tables that they give away for free when you enter in just an organization name. So this is Walmart here, which I have participated in their bug bounty a ton. And so this is like their distribution of cloud hosting for Walmart. But this is on a web page, so like there's no API for this, right? But they expose this for free. The next is their hosting summary, right? So, so while this, sorry, same screenshot. Oh, I put the same screenshot, darn, hold on, I'll just go to the web page. All right. So if you go to Netify's free page here, right, we get these tables that we should get, hold on. There we go. That are here. So we get domain information, so platform domains here. You get a limited number of network ranges, which isn't useful for me as a hacker because I need to know all of the network ranges for Walmart if I'm targeting them as an organization. You get some of their ASNs, but again, I want the full ASN description. But then down here are the tables that are useful. So a breakdown of all of their IPs and what software as a service they use mostly at Walmart. Then a distribution of their hosting, which I showed on the slide. And then a whole bunch of metadata about like countries they're in and what hosting they're using. And then also their content delivery network. And this is important, I'll talk about this in a second. But the first section helps us understand the ecosystem of our target here in, let's see here, in hosting. Walmart network, crowded, other networks, SaaS. In hosting. So I know that Walmart, primarily is actually now Google hosted. So I know that all of the tricks related to the Microsoft ecosystem and kind of the APIs they allow you to enumerate for, hosting email, hosting documents, all of the G Drive kind of hookups for enterprise-based Google hosting. Those are in play probably for their, not only for their hosted websites, but also their employees will use that infrastructure and ecosystem. They also have a substantial footprint, medium footprint in AWS, so they're multi-cloud, they use a whole bunch of stuff. Then you have tables like software as a service, right? So most of Walmart's newer sites are actually built on top of, are built with the Adobe AEM platform, which is a website design, content management platform that allows you to build web pages. And so I know that when I'm looking at a lot of these sites, this also gives me like an instant know that I need to use a methodology to hack that specific type of software as a service, which is nice because there's methodologies to hack Adobe AEM. There's a whole bunch of weird credential issues and API issues it has if you don't lock them down, whatever. I can see that they're using Salesforce, mostly probably for their CRM, etc. So for this, we built a quick tool to do this, if I have it up. So this is Scopify, and Scopify uses Puppeteer to scrape that web page and those tables into a command line readable output. So if I just do Scopify C Apple, the company name, it gives me an SSL warning, but it should work. Cool. So here's that data for me to start working with for Apple. So their CDNs, they're using Akamai. That's important to me as a web tester because Akamai has a very stringent and very specific set of cloud-based WAFs that I might have to bypass. I know that using Fastly and some other stuff, a little bit of Cloudflare, tiny bit. I can see that primarily they're hosted in AWS and then some other offsite or non-domestic US clouds. And then not a ton of information about SaaS that they use for their organization, so that doesn't really help me there. So you can put in an organization, and it will just give you this raw data. Now, you can also add this second switch, in which I've added an AI query, an analyzer, to give me some of this methodology and what I want to look at when this table comes back. So if you do -- analyze, it will take a little bit longer, but let's see what it does. So we use the OpenAI ecosystem for this analyzing, and I have a system prompt that is supposed to break down these tables to give us some information. All right. So here is what it spits out. So CDN observations, 631 IPs, heavy reliance on edge caching and global distribution, likely protected by mature WAF, but still worth checking for misrouted subdomains that bypass the WAF. This is correct. Attack vectors, origin pool probing, cache poisoning, and HTTP header tampering. These are actually the things you should be looking at when you test against Akamai's cloud-based WAF. Fastly, and then some of these other things that offer some logic here. In the hosting observations, Amazon standard cloud model, check for publicly exposed S3 buckets and IAM roles with excessive permission, which is pretty standard for cloud testing. It will also give us the direct link to the Cloud Warfare site. If you've never seen Cloud Warfare before, Cloud Warfare for Amazon sites, it basically goes out to the internet and crawls every S3 bucket or object storage bucket that exists. And so here you can just click on this link and see anything that has the keyword Apple in any bucket on the internet that they've scraped. So this is a really quick link for me to just go get started looking at bucket misconfigurations, what documents might be in them, etc. Then you get SAS observations, so third-party registrant. We didn't get a lot of data back from this, so this isn't really important. And then you get just some wrap-up and next steps. So this is the AI analyzation. So in the system prompt, I basically told it, here is how I handle attacking different cloud ranges. I also want you to enrich this with how other bug bounty hunters, specifically I say bug bounty hunters because they're very on the cutting edge of attacking cloud infrastructure. I tell the system prompt for this AI query to act as it's a world-class bug bounty hunter, and it spits out the methodology data. So this is the first thing that we did. This tool is called Scopify. It's open source on GitHub if you want to grab it, on our GitHub, on Arcanum Information Security. Okay, so technique 2 when I'm looking at a cloud range is, or when I'm looking at a customer who's heavily cloud invested, which is everybody these days, is I need to find all of their websites in the cloud. And it's not like they're just giving those to me as a red teamer or a bug hunter. So for a couple years now, we have been building projects around SSL certificates. And basically the idea is anytime a website ends up online, when it's cloud hosted, it's gonna have a certificate. So what we do as bug bounty hunters is we go grab these certificates, right? And the certificates contain a bunch of data inside of an SSL certificate. So this is Walmart's certificate, and then in the subject alternative name field here, you can see all these other domains that are associated to the main domain walmart.com. Now this is a treasure trove of information for bug hunters because we already know some subdomains here, grocery.walmart.com, but we also know some completely new top-level domains that we've never seen before. Walmart.pharmacy, let's see here, Walmart.pharmacy, wall-mart.com, etc. And so these expand our scope tremendously. So we need to find these things, but how do you find them? Because we don't know which servers to pull the SSL certificates from. Well, actually we scan the whole AWS range. So in AWS, they publish all the ranges for everything. We grab them from certain sources, and then we go to every IP and ask for the certificate on the IP level on 443. So we go to each IP address on 443, and we grab the certificate, and then we look in the certificate data for the keyword of our target. So in this case, Walmart. So last year we released a tool to do this for everybody, and this is called Caduceus, and Caduceus will go out, it'll take an IP range, which we hand it the cloud IP ranges, and then it will go out and scan for all certs, and then you can grep the data that comes back for it for walmart.com. Now, this is a point-in-time scan, and I tried to do one before we got here, but it takes a little while to basically scan the entire Amazon infrastructure. Now, Caduceus is one of these tools that is best in breed, written by Gunnar from the ground up in Go, multi-threaded. He only does half of the handshake to grab the cert, so we don't need to complete the handshake. So it is about like 40% faster than any other tool that does this in the whole domain. So it is fast, but for a company like Walmart and my shitty internet at the hotel, I wasn't able to get a run. So there is a video on YouTube that Gunnar does, though, showing on his YouTube Caduceus running. So that's one thing, that's a snapshot. I can go scan all of the clouds, get their certificate data, and then search for Walmart. And if I find Walmart, there's a chance in one of those certificates I'm gonna get other subdomains of Walmart and other top-level domains to add to my scope. And I also know now what IP addresses they're using for cloud hosting. Now that's a snapshot, right? If I wanna run that scan, I can run that scan recursively every day, right? And so in real life, for a company that's as big as Walmart, which is huge, it's one of the biggest bug bounty platforms or bug bounty programs that exists, that scan takes pretty much like 6 hours to complete the entire AWS range. If you add the other clouds to it, it'll take a little bit longer. Now, that's cool. It's nice to have that snapshot. And it is really nice also to have all the data too for the rest of Amazon. I could choose a different customer after I do the Caduceus scan and just grep the data. I don't have to rerun it. But it is a snapshot in time. What if we want live monitoring of a target? So in this, we use certificate transparency logs. So certificate transparency logs are publicly accessible, append-only databases that record when SSL certificates are issued from CAs. And so these projects are meant to enhance security, but anytime that you register a certificate for your site, it ends up in one of 4 certificate transparency databases. This is to provide transparency and accountability. It's to help detect misuse or fraudulent certificates, etc. Now, these certificate transparency projects that manage these, they also give you web GUIs. So the one that a lot of people know when they look at certificate transparency logs is cert.sh. It's a very popular one on the internet. You can go and look up sites and see all of the certificate data for them and gain information about the domains and IPs that they use. The problem with cert.sh is it's rate limited. It doesn't show you all of the certificate transparency information. It doesn't show you any of the certificates that are expired or outdated. It basically is not suited to the purpose that I want, because actually if someone has an expired cert, I actually really want to look at that site because it means that they haven't put any security love into that site. So Gunner built another tool that we use called Gungnir. What Gungnir does is it works very much like the previous tool. You give it an IP range and a domain, and it will monitor registrations, or you'll give it a domain and it'll monitor registrations. So here, right now, we're working on AT&T's bug bounty. So what do you do is we just say, okay, we want Gungnir to run on AT&T.com. And so anytime a new certificate is registered for a domain or a subdomain that mentions ATT.com, we want you to message on Discord. So this tool sends a message to my Discord. This is just this morning. So at 5:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2 new domains were registered for AT&T. Auth-test, GW, Cloud ATT. At 7:53, they registered NFSD portal, and then some other stuff. Yes?
What flag do you use so you get the response code for it, like 200
So the response code is in, I believe it's in, he has Gungnir and HTTPX tied together. Yeah, so he has 2 tools to add this, normally it just gives you the domain registration, but if you want the code for that, I can give it to you after. It's not that hard, Now, so this is really useful to bug bounty hunters and red teamers, right? Is because now I have this information the minute that they register the SSL cert. I can be the first tester to test this. You as a blue teamer can just kind of keep an eye on what the hell your organization is doing, right? Because at some point, a website is going to have an SSL cert tied to it. Now, the great thing about this actually is the SSL certification process starts before even a web server is live sometimes. So you register a domain and you issue a cert, but the site's not live. Sometimes we get these messages and we'll go to them and there's nothing there, like there's 404 right here, right? So then we have to recheck this. We put this into a different list, all the 404s, and in an hour we check it again, and then an hour we check it again, until we find that it's a 200 and we find a web page and then we start hacking it. There is a whole beautiful presentation by the team at AssetNote talking about these types of vulnerabilities that you can find when people do this, right? A lot of people in their dev kind of workflow will dev in production on the cloud ranges because they think no one will ever find, the server that they've named lh-gamify-dev.att.com, right? But that's absolutely not true. I will know about it right when they're working on it, and I will break in because usually it's very under-secured. Okay, so this idea of some AI enabling, some cloud scanning, some certificate scanning, what does it look like when you put it all together? So this is not open source. This is my own implementation of a recon framework, and this is the first time I've showed it. So let's see how it goes. So this is my VPS on the internet, and this tool is called ArcBot. And ArcBot is named after my daughter Arcadia, my 16-year-old. And ArcBot is my recon framework that we use actually on bug bounty programs. So let me just make sure everything's all good and I'm connected here. Yeah. Cool. All right, so the first thing I have to do is set up a project. I'm just going to say, I'll just say Walmart for right now. And I did a Walmart scan earlier, so I'm just going to call Walmart new. Cool. So the first thing it asks me, it says, do you want to add any domains or IP addresses you already know about the project? Often when I do a pen test rather than a bug bounty, I have some information to start with. So I'm going to say yes here. And I'm just going to say I know that Walmart.com is one, and then I can just type end. Now, in this section, I can give Apex domains or top level domains, I can give ASN numbers, I can give IP addresses, I can give stuff in CIDR format. So anything that you have, you can stuff in these lines. Cool, so that updates it. Now it says, using an AI tool I just wrote called Multidoc, do you want me to automatically, using AI, discover the ASNs associated to this target? I'm gonna say yes. And then it basically wants you to give it a brief goal of the reconnaissance project, and I say I'm doing recon on Walmart for bug bounty. All right, so this takes a couple minutes, but what this is doing is I have set up an agent that is searching for ASN information in the training data of an AI. Now, it's not just OpenAI. I have this query going to 8 different AI models using this tool called Multidoc, and then pulling the information back from each, because the training set data for frontier models is much different. And so this will go out to all of them and then reassemble the output. Now, this is a very new feature. I'm hoping it's going to work. Every 1 out of 5 times it fails due to parsing, and I haven't figured out the exact parsing yet, so let's see how it goes. Well, that's not good.
Is this based on MCP, like background?
Sorry, say it again?
Did you build it like a tools going, like on like an MCP kind of thing? Or?
No, it's not MCP based. It's just a direct API call. Yeah, so I did it earlier, which I can just scroll up, just in case, because the demo gods. I did it earlier, and this was the output earlier, right? So I said, same project, Walmart. It goes to all of the AIs, and then it brings me back a summary of all the ASNs for Walmart, which are their autonomous system numbers. So when you're a bug bounty hunter or a pen tester, like, you may find 50% of these, but the AI has returned a ton about subsidiaries and acquisitions and all kinds of other stuff. And so then it asks me at the end of here, do you want to add these to your project eventually? And I say, yes, I want to add all of them to my project. So then it adds all these ASNs to my project. So now I have a complete map of all of the infrastructure that is, at least in their ASN descriptions, for Walmart. Did it finish? Yeah, oh yeah, it finished on the good run. Okay, cool. So I haven't figured out the special character parsing at the bottom here, but it found all of these ASNs that it could belong to Walmart or acquisitions. Some of these are not good, right? We don't want Microsoft or Google or Akamai, right? So you have the option here to look through these and just say, I want, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can specify which ones you want to include in the project. I'm just going to include a few. Okay, the next module interrogates the Microsoft ecosystem and their publicly available API calls for email management. So when you send an employee to a laptop, they have to set up their Outlook to log in, if they're using the thick client version of Outlook, to set up to your Microsoft tenant and use email. There is an API that allows you to specify a domain to do that. Now, there's a tool called CheckMDI that will interrogate that API and give you back other domains hosted by that company. So do we want to check this module? I'm going to say yes. These are all the other Apex domains for Walmart, which this is a huge list for me as a bug bounty hunter, and these are almost 95% guaranteed to be related to my target. So I'm going to say I'm going to add all these to my project. Now you can do reverse whois here. This process takes a long time, but this is AI-aided reverse whois. Reverse whois lookups can find some really interesting reconnaissance like domains and subdomains and stuff like that, but it takes a little bit longer. The idea of this module, which I'm not going to run live right now, is it takes our initial domain and it goes and it looks at the registrant for that domain. And it not only looks at the registrant for the domain, but it looks at every registrant in the entire history of that domain. So a lot of times, right now in the modern era of domain registration, you will have a person who fronts your domain infrastructure, like Mark Monitor or something like that. That doesn't give me any information about that I need in this process. But if you go back far enough, the first registration of any website usually has the original registrant email tied to it. So this will go through not only the current registrant, but the registrant from like 10 years ago, and it'll list it out. Then once it finds the actual registrant's email address or name or one other marker that we key in on, then it will go look up every other site that has that registrant key marker on it. But I'm not going to run this live right now because it takes a while. Then we have the ability to do caduceus inspection and scan the cloud for our target. This also takes a little while. Then we can do OpenAI domain discovery, and we can choose how many runs we want to go. How much time do I have? 5 minutes? Okay, cool. So we can say, yes, we want to use AI to do domain discovery. I'm going to say do 5 rounds, and I'm going to say I don't want to see the API calls. This will take a second. So what this is doing is it's also using the training data. In this one, I'm only using OpenAI. I need to expand it to the multi-LLM approach. I just haven't got around to it yet. But this will go out to the data set of OpenAI and just say, hey, like, what do you know about domains that are related to Walmart, right? Or Apple or whoever I'm running, you know? So this will run, and I think I did a run of it earlier. Check MDI, let's see here. No, I didn't finish a run of it earlier. All right, we're just gonna wait. Any questions while we're waiting?
Just a quick question, are you planning to release this?
No, I am not planning to release this.
Lots of work to it.
Yeah, a lot of work, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I use this in my own consultancy. I use this. I give this away to people who come to the training, though. Yeah. So the new version of the training, people will get this. I should have like Jeopardy music. A couple more. I should have said 2 rounds, my bad.
That's a good point.
One more. Now, why do we do rounds of this? That's a good question that you didn't ask, but I asked. Why do we do rounds of this? So what you have to know is that the output of running a query to an LLM is non-deterministic, meaning if you ask it the same question 2 times, it's going to answer completely different. Now, at their base, actually, LLM models are deterministic. We make them non-deterministic on purpose for natural language purposes. But what it means for me is if I want to feel like I have completely exhausted finding all domains that it knows about in its training data, I have to do it about, like 5 times, 5 rounds of this. All right, so it found several new Apex domains possibly related. We know about a few of these. I think we got ASDA. Bell is not them, so that's a hallucination. So you still have to have like a human in the loop for this. But Flipkart, Modcoth were acquisitions. Walmart.ca is definitely Walmart. Walmart Connect we didn't have before, and Walmart Inc. we didn't have before. So I'm going to say let's add 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, actually, no, not 2. Sorry. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. Now we have other AI assisted modules, an acquisition specific module. I'm going to skip that for now. Then we can do that cloud recon scanning that we talked about earlier that has a module for that. And then once we have all of our Apex domains and we've gathered all that, we can start enumerating subdomains and it has a module for that. And then once we get all of our subdomains, we can verify that they have web services on them with HTTPX and it has a module for that. And then when it's done, it spits everything out to a report, and then that's it. So this is kind of modern recon in a recon framework that a bug bounty hunter or a red teamer would use. So that's it. That's all I got.